Trains are cool. They're hulking mechanical marvels that can break the sound barrier with the power of steam. Now think of zombies. Zombies are cool too. They're a tireless force of endless consumption, brought into modern times from fears of a dystopian societal collapse. So what happens when you put them together? You get a dungeon jam. And my flavor of jam is a survival horror ride called End of the Line. It's a claustrophobic journey to the capital city of a region that's already overrun by the undead. For DMs, this is a high-tension adventure with a bunch of cool train and horde mechanics. For players though, this is your chance to flex your character's build against a horde of zombies and crazy gargantuan nightmares, all while fighting the real horror, other people. And speaking of characters, this video features a little subclass I put together to complement the experience. Howdy folks, and thank you for being here, and welcome to my wife is VMC. I'm DMV and I've been running and designing D&D Homebrew for 10 years. Organized by AB and Dottie from Mystic Arts, Naigobi, Lunatic Dice, and Paladin Pros, Dungeon Jam is a community event where a bunch of amazing TTRPG creators design a free 5-room dungeon. If you're not familiar, the 5-room dungeon is an adventure concept codified by Johnn Four. And it provides a structured way to design a short, flexible, and complete adventure experience by using 5 quote-unquote rooms. The entrance room challenges the players with a guardian. The roleplay/puzzle room offers non-combat encounters. The setback room shocks the players back into a state of alertness. The climax room is potentially the hardest challenge of the adventure. And finally, the resolution room, which gives the players what they want, or you get to twist the knife a little more. The structure is very cool, because it has built-in highs and lows in action while still keeping tensions high. And more importantly, this isn't just a dungeon structure, it's also a story structure. I'm paraphrasing a lot of Johnn Four's design, but this is the framework that I use in designing End of the Line. I'll link the article on designing a 5RD in the description in case you're interested. As a note, I will be talking about the major features of this adventure's 5 rooms. But if you're a player and you're worried about spoilers, no problem. I've got a Cursed Artificer subclass you're gonna wanna see, so hang on a bit before you go. It's called the Sealwright, and it's a subclass that would fit perfectly for this adventure. You might have noticed that I took a lot of inspiration from Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, and this homebrew is based on the series' main character, Ikoma. This is an artificer who's been afflicted with a powerful curse, and must use their tinkering to keep the malediction in check. It lets you choose your curse origins, like being cursed by a dragon, a zombie, or even by nature itself. Its core feature lets you wield this dangerous energy, letting you release its power bit by bit like a release valve. I even included Ikoma's cool steampunk rivet gun as a magic item. The features up to level 5 are completely free, which means you can play the entirety of my End of the Line adventure without having to purchase the full version. You can find the Sealwright in the second link in the description, which contains the free light version. But if this subclass isn't your jam, don't worry about it. The homebrew is completely optional, and you can dive into the adventure with any character and still get the full experience. Anyway, thanks for letting me front load, and I hope you have a pleasant day. But if you decided to stick around, well, are you comfy at the table? Let's take pop culture to pen and paper with today's Husbando Homebrew, End of the Line. The party arrives at a border town, trying to catch the last train to the capital, and they're in a hurry. The party's artificer recently had a run-in with a zombie afflicted with a curse of insatiable hunger. And while the artisans survived the battle, they received a wound that blighted them with the same malediction. The party devised a way to stop the curse from turning the artisan into an undead, but their slapdash solution could fail at any moment. The capital would definitely have some well-equipped workshops. Anything else can wait, because this is a race against the inevitable. That story is just one example, but the document has a few other suggestions to help motivate your players, as well as other narrative tools to set the stage. This brings us to Room 1, the Guardian. Setting the stage is a big part of this first room, as it allows players to breathe in the adventure's backdrop. This also features the party's first encounter with several key NPCs, like the Scion who just returned from a diplomatic mission and needs to report to the capital, or the bodyguard who is dedicated to the Scion's safety, or the rebel who has no love for the ruling class and sees an opportunity with the Scion boarding the next train. And all these NPCs will be crammed into the same tin can with the party caught in the crossfire. But that will have to come into play later, because the party will now be faced with the room's guardian. The undead horde arrives. Chaos breaks out as people force their way into the train, while the guards scramble to seal it shut once the Scion is safely inside. The platform is crammed, visibility is bad, and the crowd's already panicking. The party, on the other hand, hasn't even arrived at the platform yet. They have to get on that train, but would the guards even let them in? Roll initiative. There are several objectives to this encounter. The party can try to convince the guards to let them in and wait until the train leaves, or they might try to pull the release levers located away from the platform to help the train get off the station. If your party's heroic, they might try to brave the horde. But there's no winning against this mass of infinite limbs, and any significant damage to it will only delay the inevitable. Still, they might just give the crew enough time to secure the passengers. Whatever the party chooses has a ripple effect, as the adventure's morale mechanic is put into motion. But we'll get to that in the next room. Regardless of what they do, the party needs to be on that train. Room 2, Puzzle and Roleplay. Inside the train is where all the NPC motivations start to clash. Discontent has spread among the common folk, as they have all been shoved into the cargo hold. The rebel took advantage of this and gathered the able-bodied laborers under his banner of rebellion. Together, they set the entire cargo car to detach at a moment's notice, threatening the train's supplies for the journey. This is where the survival part of this survival horror adventure really kicks in, and it's in the form of the morale mechanic I mentioned earlier. This resource is unique to this adventure, and it represents the train's supplies and the passengers' well-being. And if morale is reduced to 0, the party starts to suffer exhaustion levels that'll hamper their performance in future rooms. The rebel group has 2 demands. 1. Move the weakened elderly to the more luxurious passenger car. And 2. Move the scion to the cargo hold as collateral. The bodyguard will definitely not agree to this. Meanwhile, the Politico, another key NPC, has ordered the train's guards to use force if necessary. If the party doesn't intervene, the ensuing violent infighting will cause a huge blow to the train's morale. They might even lose the cargo train, which offers certain short rest bonuses. And if nothing else, any key NPC that might get slain in the ensuing chaos locks the party out of the potential magic item rewards that they hold. And yes, I did make some cool magic items for this adventure. A bit of time passes once things have hopefully calmed down. This is an opportunity for the party to interact with NPCs or take a short rest. And they'll need that bit of breathing room, cause things are about to go down in Room 3, the Setback. As we've all probably seen in the haze of 2020, someone will inevitably hide the bite. And this adventure's train is no different, as the undead quickly amass at the rear car. The loss in morale is inevitable in this room, and any delay in putting out this nightmare of a fire will only worsen their odds in the next challenge. This is doubly worse if the party has already lost the cargo car in the previous room. The objective here is clear: excise the car that contains the horde and cut it off before it overruns the rest of the train. At this point, it's possible that the train is down by 2 cars, morale is non-existent, and the party might already have a few levels of exhaustion. But there's some relief. The capital is finally in sight, and just ahead of them is the Nexus of Rails, a network of circular tracks that manages the traffic of several trains going in and out of the capital. But any glimmer of hope is quickly dashed, as a gargantuan undead called the Crawling Casket awaits the party. Welcome to Room 4, the Climax. This is the boss fight of the adventure, and it has a bunch of unique mechanics. The first is that the entire space is zoomed out tenfold, and any square that is typically 5 feet becomes 50 feet. In this room, the entire party and the train are condensed into a single square unit. This setup means that when the train moves, the party moves, and any movement within the train is negligible in this encounter. But that also means that if the Crawling Casket hits the train, everybody feels it. Speaking of which, the casket's difficulty is absurd for a party of this level. So to make the fight winnable, this encounter merges all of the party's and the train's hit points into a single pool. This is a double-edged sword, however, because if this pool reaches 0, the game's over. But to even the odds a bit more in the party's favor, they also have access to the train's artillery, assuming it wasn't lost in the previous room. Fighting isn't the only possible way to win, however. There is a tunnel at the other end of the map that's too small for the Crawling Casket. But there's a catch, because the map itself is also a challenge. The train always moves 300 feet at the start of the round, and can only move on a single colored track. So the party needs to decide when to switch tracks before the train moves, while factoring in the train's constant speed. All while trying to escape the Crawling Casket. All bets are off at this point. The party can try and avoid the Crawling Casket while trying to reach the tunnel, or be more tactical and try to kite around the casket by using the tracks to their advantage. Once the party has beaten or escaped the crawling casket, you enter the fifth and final room, the conclusion. We have two options here. Give them the catharsis of finding a safe haven behind solid fortifications, or abandon all hope by showing the city on fire. Either way, this is the point where rewards are given, NPC stories come to a close, and maybe do an ending narration on how it all goes down. The rewards are all listed in this document, and as I mentioned before, all tied to any NPC who survives this adventure. Adventure design isn't my forte as a DM, but I'm really proud of how this one turned out. This adventure pretty much has everything the DM needs, from train mechanics to custom stat blocks. I also wrote it to be adaptable to most settings by keeping things descriptive. But if you want a more plug-and-play experience, I made an inspiration appendix where I wrote down a sample setting with all the names and lore you'll need for the adventure. The maps are also on the simpler side, making them easy to reskin for any visual theme. Fantasy Industrial Japan? Absolutely. Modern day train station? Heck yes. I initially had a different idea for my Dungeon Jam entry, but MC gave me the concept that was too good to pass up. Be sure to check out the end of the line adventure in the first link in the description. By the way, this adventure is completely free. If you want to support us, do leave a like and maybe subscribe for more homebrew content. We also have memberships where you can get early access to our homebrew. Members also gain access to our Discord. The community is growing and it's a space where we talk about homebrew, toku, and any other stuff. And of course, you will see your name among these magnificent mallards you see on screen right now. MC, please do the honors.
Hello, it is I, the Mallard Quinn, again! And I'm here to honor our Mallard Royal Guards. Storm Starshine, Yggdrasil 88, Bryant LW, Piku, KV, Coinop 1989, and Cosplay Battle. And of course, let us all rise for the Mallard nobility, Hectic Planet 07. Thank you all so much for your support.
Remember to check out the Dungeon Jam playlist you see on screen, where you'll find a lot of other great adventures you can plug and play into your campaign. Until next time, my wife and I hope you have a great day ahead.